Right, right.
Speaking of which, can you walk me through like from start to finish, like from when you first reach a client to closing? What are all the steps they go through?
Yeah, sure. Basically, when I have an agent who might refer a client over, or someone, a friend has referred a client over, I'll ask them to get, to get their information to kind of pull together, and then we'll do an introductory call where we kind of go over what are your goals, what are you trying to achieve, and obtaining a loan. Is it I'm wanting to move further out. I want to get a less of a house payment. I mean, just there. Everybody's got a different reason for wanting to purchase a lot of times, and so I
Mhm.
try to find out what exactly what they're wanting to do with the type of loan they're wanting to obtain.
And
If they're a
to
first-time
make
home buyer,
just to be elaborate on that. So when you talk about like the reasons, it could be something like for a personal home or for investment or something else. Is there other reasons besides those two?
yes. So what if sometimes we have people that have elderly parents and they want to buy something so that they can, have a place for their parents to maybe stay with them or live with them if they need to. Sometimes we have people that are having children and they want their grandparents to be, have a place in their home for that. Sometimes it's work related. I want to get closer. My commute is too long.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just that I think this is going to be a really good investment for me, and it's a way for me to save money and build equity. And so I want to buy something versus throwing my money away in rent.
Okay. Okay. So once they've kind of talked to you through like what the reasons for buying, and they give you the kind of like the lend a lot of the documents like credit score. What's next?
Okay, so we'll ask them to, I'll kind of do just kind of a rough draft of how much your income is, what are your monthly debts. I try not to pull people's credit score unless I absolutely have to kind of figure that out. So we kind of first talk about that. If it looks like it will work within the parameters, I'll go ahead and pull credit
Mhm.
so that I know what their credit score is. And then I look at what their debts are. Maybe sometimes there's things that aren't correct on the credit report that need to be corrected. Maybe there is
Mhm.
payments that are in collection that they didn't even know,
Mhm.
and so we may work on getting some credit repaired or credit fixed before we move on to the next step. But once let's say their credit's fine, they know how much they make, they kind of have an idea of what they can afford,
Mhm.
and then it's my job to kind of walk them through the process with, okay, we're going to verify everything that you've said. So if you say you make this, I need a pay stub that shows that. If you say I have this much in the bank, I need a bank statement that shows that. If you say these are my monthly debts, I'm going to pull a credit report that reflects what those are.
Mhm.
So we're going to do a check and balance with everything
Mhm.
that they put on paper. We're going to verify all of that information. Once we've done that, we submit them to underwriting to get
Mhm.
approved. And then it comes out of underwriting. There may be a couple of conditions that need to be cleared.
All right,
Um,
just to be clear, before underwriting, so once you give, I'm assuming first like they get an offer letter saying you qualify for this amount, and then
oh, yes.
as a buyer, they eventually they go ahead and they eventually find a home and then they get their offer accepted, right? And then the next steps are like the underwriting, correct?
Yeah, so we look at their income, guide them with the process of how escrows work, things like that. Then I will issue a once I pull credit and I've verified their information, I will issue a pre-approval or pre-qual letter, depending on uh, the how quickly we want it. We'll issue a pre-qual letter. They'll take that back and they'll go shopping for a home that's within those parameters in the letter. And then once they've found a property and
Mhm.
that property, and they've made an offer and it's been accepted,
Mhm.
then they'll come back and they'll finish providing the documentation. We'll order the appraisal,
Mhm.
and we'll open title with a title company that's written on a contract. We'll follow what the contract states, and then once all of those things come back, then we submit them to underwriting, and we have approval. If we have a financing condition addendum, we'll want to get approval during that period.
Okay. So the first steps is kind of talk with you about the reasons and goals for buying a house, then go get all the documentation, and you'll eventually give them a number saying you can qualify for this amount. They eventually find the home, and then once they find the home, it goes into underwriting, and then you have the appraisal of the house,
Yes,
and and then after that, it will eventually, is assuming that everything goes smoothly from there, then it will
yes,
eventually go to closing, correct?
yes. And let's say they came in and they said, I want to buy a house. My income, uh, I make enough income to qualify, but they're short on cash.
Okay.
So let's say they don't really, because buying a home for the first time, it's really hard sometimes to come up with that 3%. And the biggest misconception, I think, is a lot of people, young people today, think you have to have 20% down.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd be surprised how many people we come across that'll say, well, you mean I can buy with 3% or 5% down? So they think they have to save so much that the goal is just unobtainable. And you're like, no, first-time homebuyer programs allow for you to do as little as 3% down. So if it's something where they maybe are short on the funds needed, then we'll look at first-time homebuyer grants and programs that allow for that. A lot of times they can obtain some of the down payment from a family member, and they can get a gift. That's another way to help them with that. Actually, employers can provide the down payment necessary through
Oh,
employer
wow.
programs.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So those are a lot of things that we do. We counsel them on the financing as far as the down payment is concerned, what programs that they might qualify for. You'd be surprised people that don't tell you they're veterans, and you're like, what? And they said, yeah, I got out of the service about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and I'm working at this job. And you're like, oh, well, we can do 100% financing with a VA.
Yeah, because that's a big difference. I think the hardest part about buying a home is that down payment is the biggest part.
Exactly.
Because a lot of wealthy people they have good incomes, but they may not have the savings to get 20%
Right.
down. But as you mentioned, that you don't have to have 20% down.
Exactly. So I think that's one of the important pieces, is just really, and that's when you initially visit with someone and find out a little more about them and what their needs are, and that's how we can then help them with. Oh, well, we have T-Shag, TDHC. We have all kinds of products available for someone, and really knowing there are options out there really helps them feel at ease throughout the home buying purchase.
Okay, perfect. One of the things I really want to do is